And yo, we are back. The Sports Bag Bros podcast is back after you. And after the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 58 is now a thing of the past, and the new dynasty has begun. I think it might have started a little early, but it has definitely officially arrived as of yesterday as the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime defeated, after being behind in the beginning of the game, obviously, came back and defeated the San Francisco 49ers for their third Super Bowl in 5 years. Certainly a dynasty. And as
Yep.
Mahomes says, it just begins. This is the beginning of something even bigger, in his opinion. And it may be the right opinion.
It could be. Only time will tell. But I don't think a dynasty just becomes all of a sudden. It's been building.
Yeah.
That's why we were talking about it, and we weren't the only ones talking about it. If the Chiefs win, it's a dynasty. 3 and 5 years. What is it? 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. That that's a dynasty. You
Yeah,
can't call it
absolutely.
anything else. And if they three-peat, now we're
Oh,
elevating that dynasty to
yeah, they
one of the
skip over
greatest.
everyone with a three-peat because that's never been done in the Super Bowl era of football. If they get a three-peat in this era of football where there are Super Bowls, I think they leapfrog teams who even have more Super Bowls.
That could be true.
Yeah, so
It,
because the
it
way
remains it remains to be seen, but you're still gonna have people out there. They're gonna say that the Steelers were more dominant, Montana and Rice were more dynamic, possibly, or the triplets in Dallas. People are always gonna come up with some kind of thing,
always,
but facts are facts. The three-peat is in football in the Super Bowl era, as you mentioned, has never been done, and whether it's not as dominant, if you're comparing the Chiefs to other teams, doesn't matter because they're the only team to win three in a row.
yep. And
But
on top
we're
of that,
getting ahead of
well,
ourselves. But it's definitely a possibility
I'm saying,
because
but after the three-peat though, I think that just kind of turns everything upside down, and I think it just leapfrogs them in front of anybody else who even has more overall Super Bowls than they do, which are few anyway by the time that does happen. But in any event, I don't even
but
think that you can make the comparisons to the old school like it is today because the game has changed so much and
mhm,
teams moving around and moving parts, and you don't have the same team from year to year like the Steelers had or like the
true.
49ers had back in the 80s. So you're even more creative now. You have to do with different teams. It accentuates, I think, even more so Pat Mahomes' greatness for being able to do that. In the beginning of this season, losing to Detroit and then all of those things in between, no one saw this as a possibility. I saw the overrated talk they had about this guy. And without him yesterday, there's no way they win.
Yeah, you make a good point there. It's probably difficult. The NFL, they want parity. They've wanted it for years. That's why there's
Yep.
a salary cap. Um, so yeah, it's very difficult to compare today's teams to back then, where free agency was not very prevalent.
Nope.
So yeah, you can say, well, the Steelers were dominant. Bill Walsh and the 49ers were dominant. Maybe the Chiefs aren't dominating people, but they're winning. And that's the bottom line.
Exactly. Yep. It's like that when they talk about people who are doctors, whether you're at the top of the class of 300 or the bottom of the class of 300, you're still a doctor. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And I'll tell you another thing when it comes down to Mahomes and this team right here, I think this might have been his greatest Super Bowl because there was no real star player that stood out. Travis Kelcie is a star name. He started doing things a little bit later in the game. He did something very stupid during the game with Andy Reid. That's another issue. Shoot, it's going to be talked about today. But the fact that he had less talent, he was the only real star on the offense. He didn't have it Tariq Hill to get the ball to. He used Mecole Hardman to win the Super Bowl with. Mecole Hardman played with the Jets this year. It was let
It got
go.
cut.
It
Yeah.
got cut from the Jets. He comes here, gets himself a Super Bowl ring. I was happy for him because I watched him play in college when he played at Georgia. I thought he was going to be a very good player in the NFL. It's just that hasn't happened yet. But if he can have one great moment, that was it last night, making that game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, I don't see how this is not Patrick Mahomes' best best performance, postseason performance.
It has
How
to be.
this isn't the most satisfying. You know, there was talk, oh, he's going on the road. Let's see, is he the same Is he the same 15 on the road as he is at home? Yeah, there's no questions about that anymore, right? So if anybody had any questions about Patrick Mahomes, and if you still have a question, you're a fucking idiot.
That's it. And you're just a hater. You're everything else they say that people like that are. You want attention. To bring something up like that to tell you that he's not as great and he's a system quarterback. I still don't even know what a system quarterback is today in the NFL. I mean, the run and shoot was a system. The wishbone is a system. The pro said it's not a system. It's what they do in the NFL. And even right now, out of the shotgun, the run pass option, all that, it's still part of the NFL that everyone is doing. So he's just the one, if you want to put it that way, he's executing that system that other teams are using better than everybody else. And he's getting the most results out of it. And, in this game for him, it wasn't even about all of the stats. You can look at the 333 yards. You can look at the 2 touchdowns and 1 interception for Patrick Mahomes. Pretty mundane, pretty uninteresting. But the way he did it, this is one of those games where you had to watch how he did it and see the things that he did when it mattered most. Other plays just can't make it. They haven't done
it. I'm going to basically echo what I said about Brock Purdy after he beat the Packers, and he had 2 consecutive comebacks, and I called him a winner. He may not be a top 5 quarterback. He may have played like for trash for 3 quarters, but when the chips were down and his team needed him to make plays, he made plays.
Yep.
That's what Patrick Mahomes did yesterday. 3rd and 1, run for it. 4th and 2, run for it.
The leader rushed on the team.
People are thinking there's going to be a drop at some point. There's going to be a drop at some point. 4th down. Now, I ain't passing. I'm running it. I'm not taking that chance.
A 22-yarder.
And I call Brock Purdy a winner. Brock is a winner, but not to the level that Patrick Mahomes is.
And this is just his second year, by the way, with Brock Purdy. We already know what happened the season before with the injury. Now going into this game, still having more to prove. 2 years of experience. Tom Brady did it in his 3rd season. He got out there. Hey, in his first Super Bowl, he had 145 yards passing, 16 completions and a touchdown. Brock Purdy did better than that, and that's still pretty similar in terms of the way the NFL is right now. But Brock Purdy, he did a lot of that in this game as well. He's the one who put them ahead and got them that field goal, got them in range for that field goal to give them the lead. Special teams blew this game. Moody missing the extra point came back to bite him in the ass because the way the defenses were playing, this is the only way it could have ended.
Yeah, that punt hitting the guy on his ankle, man, that was a killer because up until that point, the Chiefs were not moving the ball consistently. And obviously they had just punted the ball. They got stopped again. And then they get the ball inside the 20. Oh man, they got hyped up and they're licking their chops. Oh, we got an opportunity, guys. And that's an opportunity Mahomes is not gonna let get away from him. And he didn't. But props to Brock Purdy. They came back and they took the lead right back.
Yeah.
And they're feeling good, and then bam, blocked extra point. And that gives Kansas City another boost. All right, no matter what happens, we can get in field goal range. I mean, Butker can kick from damn near 60 yards, if not further.
They said 71 before the game.
He was right. So back at 71. 1 first down, 2 first down. We're in field goal range. So they were feeling good.
And just to think about how, you look at both teams and they were evenly matched once they got on the field. Both defenses did fairly well because they didn't do very well against the run, but look at the way those runs were coming. You had Mahomes breaking these runs, things that weren't traditional. That was the reason why the numbers were looking good in the running game, because San Francisco did a damn good job against Pacheco, who I thought would be an X factor. He tried to be, in fact, in a reverse way, was almost the X factor, fumbling, McCaffrey fumbling, the way this thing started off with the rust. And you saw that rust that not playing in 1 week probably came with not ball security and all of the turnovers. And then the offensive penalties with Trent Williams twice. I mean, you had issues on that offense until they finally got it together. Things kind of settled down and the game played out. And these teams were the consummate example of evenly matched teams. That's what they were yesterday, because going into this, if so-and-so defense done this, you kind of still overlooking Kelce's defense because they weren't going into the season looked at as the dominant crew. You had particular players you talked about. But then I think when all of that turmoil was going on with the offense, the defense did get better. and then in the playoffs they just tore it down with the defense. But then, we knew about San Francisco. They weren't living up to expectations as of the latter part of the season. But yesterday, they were completely evenly matched on both sides with defense.
Yeah, it was a good game. I'd say I won't call it a great game because of all the mistakes.
Yeah. Yep.
You mentioned the penalties. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the penalties, the turnovers, the guy not getting away from the punt. I saw the guy pointing, but was he shouting, get away, or whatever the code word is? I don't know.
That's what he was saying, allegedly.
That guy's still blocking. He's supposed to get away. That was the turning point in that game. But 49ers still had opportunities.
Yep.
The Chiefs were still making mistakes. I can't remember who got the personal foul. Was it Sneed?
Oh, Sneed.
Yeah, Sneed. I mean, that gave 49ers momentum. It looked like the 49ers were starting to look like how the Ravens looked against, not the 49ers. The Chiefs were starting to look like the Ravens against the Chiefs 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
With the bonehead mistakes, the penalties, the unnecessary plays. And you mentioned Kelcie running into Andy Reid because
he came over to him, played him man. He
pushed him a couple feet. Yeah,
bro, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it looked like they were starting to unravel. The 49ers just could not get away from them. They made their own mistakes and let them hang around.
Yeah, but I mean, now going back to Travis Kelcie, man, to do something like that, bro, that just takes the flavor out of everything. First of all, whether you're a fan of Andy Reid or not, or even the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid is pretty beloved throughout the entire NFL because he's been a good guy the entire time. The way that came across, man, that was all bad. That looks like a suspension and even a fine. I don't know if they get through it or the team's going to do it just to save face, or even the NFL gets involved and does it. I don't know. But, that was pretty damn egregious, man. I'm not even over-exaggerating. That just doesn't happen, man. I just thought about if it was Bill Parcells, if it was Bill Belichick, if it was Tom Coughlin, would that have happened and just kind of blown over? As the kind of player, kind of guy Parcells was, man, I don't know. He wouldn't even come up with the second half. He might throw the pack.
He might have took a swing at him too first.
That's what I'm saying. Man. Aside from Lawrence Taylor, you couldn't do anything on Parcells' team. That was crazy. That was crazy.
I'm not sure what to make of it really. First I got here
with him.
Yeah, I know he bumped him. Yeah, he moved him about a foot or two.
Bro, and he's not a little dude, man.
Right. I just want to hear from Kelcie, like, what was going through his mind at that moment. It's not like he went up and shoved him. He walked up to him and made contact. I don't think he shoved him.
You know what?
But I think he was talking to him, and Reid didn't acknowledge him.
Out there?
So he was trying to get his attention. I don't know. Hey, I don't think it's going to result in a fine or anything. They won the Super Bowl. They're all happy now. It's water under the bridge, in my opinion.
But is it over-exaggerated that was not the right thing to do? Didn't it come across the wrong way? I don't think it's over-exaggerated by even – I can't even say you would act like it was egregious because it actually was egregious. You don't even get into a position to where you're yelling at and then you understand what he was yelling at. Because remember, it was like he belonged in the play there and it didn't happen. When they started using that as the reason why he did it, it sounds more of an emotional thing than something accidental.
That's true. Who was the guy who was in for him made a mistake.
Yeah.
And so why you bring me to the bench and look what happens? Leave me out there. I can't be mad at him for that. It's all about wanting to play and make the plays. So I can't be mad at him.
No, I can't be mad at him for what had happened because it was an obvious result of him not being in there. Just the result of what had happened, that's what it's all fingers are pointing to him for. And sometimes people don't want to they don't want to forgive something like that, especially with someone like Andy Reid.
But if Andy Reid's cool with it, who is anybody else?
He's cool with it now. He got a Super Bowl.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure Kelcie went up to, hey, sorry I pushed you, coach. I was just trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
But, who's anybody else to feel bad for Andy Reid? Come on, Andy Reid, he don't care.
Well, not now. But I tell you, another thing we talk about is the way these matchups were going into the Super Bowl. And seeing who had the most firepower. It looked like across the board, San Francisco did. Brock Purdy was going to be the X factor, like all quarterbacks should be. But then Deebo Samuel didn't stand out. And of course, injury prone a little bit. The hamstring injury put him out a little bit. And then Christian McCaffrey, bro, they did an excellent job slowing him down. Other than the gimmick play in which he got into the end zone on a throwback, he wasn't doing his usual chunk play things that he does out there, the explosive plays where you see him hit that a hole, and all of a sudden you see the acceleration, even if it's just an 8 or 9 yard run. He wasn't getting that with any consistency against that defense. And then Pacheco, who I thought has the same speed as McCaffrey, different running style because he runs with violence, as they said, the old Marion Barber or Marshawn Lynch beast mode kind of style. He wasn't getting anything. And in the beginning, he was kind of getting something, but then after that fumble, I think it got in his head a little. They started banging on him as soon as he got the ball. I mean, he was getting caught in the backfield and all that. Still tried to do something, but didn't do anything. So, and George Kittle, man, come on, man. I thought this would be his game. Right. They just stayed away from him. That one pass, which was a pass of consequence, he got inside. He was the one who got the first down for it with it.
Yeah, who I was I was happy to see Hargrave and Armstead. They made themselves
finally.
Bro,
they showed up.
Where has this been? They were making things difficult on Pacheco, and actually the whole D line early in the game was making things difficult on Mahomes. But I don't think I've heard anybody talk about how losing Greenlaw hurt the 49ers.
Bro,
maybe not the first few series. They're still pumped up. They have a lot of energy, but as the game went on, they needed Greenlaw. That was a major.
Well, look at that freak injury, though. They showed him just jumping up and down like players hyped up to get back out there.
Yeah,
and the freaking Achilles gives.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I've heard of no contact injuries before, but not on the Super Bowl. As the guys run on the field,
just jumping up and down, getting ready to get back in.
Yeah, that's too bad, man. That's a shame.
And I think the worst part about it is unless he sees Aaron Rodgers' doctor who has that breakthrough surgery that can probably get you back sooner than later, man, that's the kind of injury you probably come back in November of this season if he's able to come back at all. An Achilles, bro, that's serious. I mean, luckily he's a young dude, so he heals up fast.
Man, it was crazy how there'd be a play and then they show the replay and it's not even of what's going on, and then you see Deebo just fall down and hold his hamstring like, damn, another one, and then the safety got hurt and like the lineman got hurt. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
But the safety got hurt hitting Travis Kelcie, or Travis Kelcie hitting him. He felt that. It looked kind of awkward when the collision happened. It looked pretty awkward. So when they kind of panned away and looked and saw who's injured, I kind of knew it was him. And Travis Kelce is just a big dude, regardless of how well he's playing this year or not. Because, by the way, with an extra game this season, he still didn't get 1,000 yards. And by the way, also, even with some missed games, he only had 5 touchdowns during the regular season. Now, he did step it up in the postseason, which is when you're supposed to do it anyway. But, he wasn't doing anything special. We talked more about Taylor Swift than we talked about him doing a lot of anything on the field this year. And there was over-under on Taylor Swift sightings and cut-tos yesterday during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they did a good job on him in the first half, but when it mattered, once that offense got going, where he ended up with like 8 for 92, they couldn't really deal with him. They found ways to get him open in space, and he killed them.
And you wonder, how does this happen? You know who he is, regardless of how bad things might have been this season, regardless of all the stuff off the field nonsense like that. But since the season started, we've seen how he's played. And then you look at him in this game, how is he wide open? I always wonder how. I mean, we know that it can happen because they're that great at play design to where he's freaking wide open. You should know that, man. It's almost like St. John. I would say, what's up in there? St. Brown in Detroit. Come on, this dude's like open all the time. You're like, he's getting the ball. Why is there no one within 5 yards of this guy on a 4th down play or 3rd down play?
I don't know. There was one play he was in the slot, but they had 2 wideouts on the same side, and the cornerbacks were up, but the safety wasn't, or the linebacker wasn't over there. And I'm yelling like, "Yo, who's covering Kelcie? Who's covering Kelcie?" If I was, I coached Pop Warner for 7 years. I was the defensive coordinator. I would have been hollering, "Timeout, coach! Timeout! Yo, you can't have a guy 10 yards off of Kelcie.
Nah,
He's going to go up 5 yards, turn, and then he's going to run for whatever he can. You're just giving him the first down.
he's too big. You got to get in his face. You got to at least impede his route, jam him at the line if you can, whatever, chip him, whatever you got to do. But he just gets open, and he runs routes very well too. So he can fool you with his movements, look downfield, and make that sudden stop and turn around, or make the cut near the out, fake it in and go back out, and he's wide open again. And with he and Mahomes having that kind of chemistry, the ball is almost always there. But Mahomes leading the team in rushing, and you're not really expecting him to do that, even though he is a running quarterback. And they were saying that, you don't really want to risk him out there. Bro, I don't think when it's the Super Bowl, man, you take your chances. He broke a 22-yarder. He broke a 22-yarder, and he can run.
When he ran, it was very effective, and
he put his head down on one play when he really
plays. We went for the first down. I was thinking he always going to put his head, stick his ass. Man, he powered through for the first down. He powered through. I was like, what the heck is going on?
That's kind of sort of reminiscent of the play they talked about with John Elway when he was spun around like that propeller.
You just got to mention your guy. Come on.
No, I mean, I'm saying it was reminiscent of that, because if you're going to take something from that game to show the desire, because when the montage comes up and the desire, that has to be something that you show for the desire that he wanted or had to get that play and make that play for his team to have the opportunity and continue to drive. And that's what he had done. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, there aren't any more arguments to make, not legitimate arguments. You can be a troll and you'll just say stuff in quotes, just stuff. That means nothing. Or you could be someone that sees him for what he is, see what he's done all of these years in such a short period of time. And if nothing catastrophic happens, this is the NFL. It can't happen with an extra game and maybe even 2 games in years to come. It make it even more dangerous. But as he stands right now, already a legend, a living legend, already a first ballot Hall of Famer. And then there's more to come. He says the dynasty is just beginning. Now, people can say what the hell they want, but he's done it with a lesser team. Now you can trust Kansas City to bring in even more talented players or veterans, and even through the draft, they'll be picking late because they're winning. But, man, as long as Andy Reid is there, I think this team just continues to cruise control their places in the playoffs and let the cards fall where they may once they get there, and it seems like they end up in the Super Bowl.
There's word Eric Bieniemy might be coming back.
So,
and then maybe when Andy Reid does step down, that's how he gets
perfect
his
story.
Opportunity.
After what he had done in Washington with Sam Howell in his second season, even though they didn't have anything going for them record-wise, I saw Sam Howell's development. I saw the things he's done. He's still making some of the mistakes you make as a second-year player, but in terms of overall offensive production, just bring it right back over to Mahomes. And now you think, for at least me, I think with Mahomes, I don't know. Is it Andy Reid? Is it an offensive coordinator? Or is he just that damn talented because he can make calls at the damn line and call his own damn plays, and they work?
It could, it's a combination of everything. Let's say Andy Reid has 100 pages in his playbook, and they're all available to him right now. Every single play in that 100-page 100-page playbook is available. Or if he had another quarterback, he might only have 45 pages available.
That's true.
So he's got the guy where he can do anything and everything.
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's a lot more of Mahomes than anybody else. Andy Reid stands on his own merit. We don't have to question whether he's good. He's done it multiple places now in terms of his offensive production. He didn't win in Philly in terms of a championship, but we know what he had done in Philly. And then now he's here just continuing to win. He's right where he belongs, the same way Bill Walsh was where he belonged in San Francisco. And anybody else who's an offensive mind and where they belong, even Pete Carroll, where he belongs. And things were he just made things happen. And
so let's say they win next year and Andy Reid says, I'm going to stick around and go for 4. But he might be ready. He's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
He might be ready to retire, but he doesn't want to leave one out there, right? So then they win 4 in a row. And Andy Reid says, you know what? I just can't do it no more. Does Patrick Mahomes say, you know what? I think I'm done too. I'm good.
Oh, no. Patrick Mahomes, look,
I'm just saying, like, he'll still be 30 years old. He might have other interests. Like, Andy Reid's going, man, let's call it.
You know what, though?
He is, they'll say he's got to get 8 to be the GOAT.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. If they win 4 in a row and he retires, he's the GOAT. Come on, man.
And look, if you get 4 in a row, forget about it. Everything before you
he
go
got
down
5 in half the time that it took. Probably even less than half the time that it took Brady to get his 7.
Well, I mean, see, when you're that competitive and you see how competitive Mahomes is, you hear it when he speaks, you see when he plays, he's passionate about the game. You have to be passionate about football.
I'm just saying that if Andy Reid retires, I don't know if Mahomes, if they have all that accomplished, what else is there for him to
Well,
accomplish?
I said that to say this, because of his competitive nature, he thinks like we think a lot in terms of just people. Athletes never really admit it. They act like they're in their own little bubble that they don't think the way fans think at times. He wants to prove he can do it without Andy Reid. That's going to separate him from everybody.
MJ didn't care about proving it without Phil Jackson, and he's the most competitive dude around.
In football, different sport, man. I just think a different sport. When you go out there and you see the grind of a 17 game season, and Mahomes is attached to Andy Reid, you know, as much as they get along in a way, at least from the outside looking in, as much as it seems like they do get along and love each other, and it seems like it's just a nice cohesion, I think there's a piece of him that wants to show that, you know what, I could also do it without him. If that scenario did play out, he would like to prove that he could do it without him. Imagine him having Eric Bieniemy there, and then him saying, you know what, I need to do it with somebody else. And if he did it with somebody else, because I mean, if Eric Bieniemy is that guy offensively in terms of his offensive play calling and mindset, man, that could be a possibility. And of course, you still have to worry about the people who are going to surround him. Wide receivers, you need real wide receivers. Rice is still a freaking receiver, right? Is a damn good receiver, fast as hell. I mean, seriously, I think he could have really caused more damage if he had the ball more often. But I think that Patrick Mahomes, if there's an opportunity to do it without Andy Reid, he's all for it, because it's just that competitive nature on that high level that just says, you know what, I want to prove I can do it without him. Tom Brady did it down in Tampa. I think that was part of proving that he can do it without Bill Belichick.
He wanted to continue playing. They pretty much pushed him out the door.
Yeah, and he proved also that he could do without Bill Belichick. I mean, that ended up happening because of what they had done. But then I think Mahomes would be one of those guys that wants to prove that he can do it too, whether it was with the same team or a different team.
Let's talk about the 49ers coach, because
Kyle Shanahan.
The OC also. There was a stretch, I think, in the third quarter. They threw the ball like first down, second down, and then there's a false start.
Yeah.
And then they had to punt, and they came out, throw on first down again, throw on second down. I mean, I think, and they were knocking balls down. There were people in Purdy's face. He was throwing it at people's feet.
They were coming at him. They were coming.
Why were they not running the ball for that stretch? I don't know what they were trying to prove. I mean, okay, you come out 3 incomplete passes or 1 complete pass, and you got a punt. All right, well, that didn't work. Let's run the ball next possession. No, they passed again, and they were running the ball successfully. That's how they were pretty much able to score the 1 touchdown. They started running the ball again, and then in overtime, they were running the ball, and they get inside the 10. And to me, that's 4 down territory. You know who's on the other sideline. Yeah. You cannot settle for a field goal. You cannot settle for a field goal.
I thought that was the best thing you could do, because they did rely on that defense, which is paid high like they are. They played well yesterday, especially that interior we talked about. And you could just put the game in their hands. These guys are getting paid. These are high-level players. Bro, Chase Young was the one who's kind of like the loose link yesterday, the weakest link. I mean, not in a bad way completely, but the other 3 were doing much better than him, and you heard their names more than you heard Chase Young.
He had the 1 sack.
Yeah, he had the sack.
There was a Randy Gregory sighting also.
Randy Gregory sighting. Man,
I just think, you know who's on the other sideline. You've seen him do it time and time again. That third down call to the run to the right that got stuffed.
Oh, that was
you got to come up with a better play than that. You know you need 7. Whatever you're calling. If it's me, I'm calling a third down play, knowing that I'm going for it on 4th down. That to me, that game was over. As soon as they lined up the field goal, that game was over, in my opinion.
Well, some of that running, in fact, a lot of that running was a bunch of gimmicky stuff, getting jet sweeps and things like that. It wasn't McCaffrey doing what he's done all season, which was break that run up the middle. His longest run was 11 yards. So he wasn't doing what he normally does. Even if he's getting shut down, he breaks that 20-yarder, and it really changes the momentum of the game. And catching out of the backfield, same thing. He wasn't doing that as effectively as he was in the past or during the postseason or at all up until now. So I don't think that running game was – it's just that I think Kansas City played that well defensively to where the pass and the run was going to be an issue for San Francisco to try to get any consistency going. Brock Purdy still played well. It just wasn't enough because I don't think everything else around him was working. George Kittle still not getting the ball, and that's pretty much for the playoffs, not getting the ball. And then you still see, even when Deebo Samuel was in the game, he wasn't doing as much, as he would be known to do. And once he gets the ball in his hand, he's dynamic, but there wasn't too many of those opportunities. And the block passes, so they were playing volleyball with it last night. They was just smacking the ball almost every which way he threw it. It didn't even matter. It was almost expected.
Yeah, and they were blitzing them.
Oh, they were coming.
Yeah,
they got there. Safety blitz, it didn't matter. They were getting it. Oh man! And
I don't know if it was inexperience where he didn't, shift the protection to where the blitz was coming from, or he didn't know where it was coming from. Maybe he picks that up with experience, but there are guys coming scot-free.
But there were a couple of guys
to the backfield, huh?
If you listen to Tony Romo, there was a couple of times where there was just no way to tell that blitz was coming. There was absolutely no way to tell. It looked like a regular defensive play. The next thing you know, the dude's in the gap so fast. I mean, if the offensive line couldn't even react, the safety was already up there, and Brock was like turning his back at the same time.
Yeah, and then there's a play they didn't block Chris Jones, and he's all in Brock Purdy's face.
All in his face.
Gotta get rid of it early before the dude's even making his break. Ridiculous, man. That was a play I've seen too much from the Bears.
Oh man, but like you said, it was a good game. I think it was a sloppy classic because it went to overtime. It should have never gotten to overtime.
Yeah, let's talk about overtime too.
You know what? I didn't even know those new rules.
Is the first quarter in overtime? Man, you get 15 minutes. Man, I'm almost speechless. That's almost retarded to me. You don't want the team with the second possession to run out of time? Well, shit. Well, your defense shouldn't let the other team hold the ball for 12 minutes. Come on, man. You got a second quarter?
Yeah. Like, you can't in the Super Bowl you can't in the Super Bowl in a draw.
Well, yeah, I get that, but they kicked a field goal. If it was 4th and 34, 4th and goal from the 34, and they going to kick a field goal, they're going to go for it with 1 second on the clock? No, they're going to kick a field goal. You're going to go to another overtime.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I guess they all play.
That makes more sense than, well, time's running out. Well, there's a second quarter, though. So now we're playing full. No, that makes no sense. Didn't the ref say that
before the overtime started? He told them what the rules were. This is like we start a new game all over again.
I'm not disputing that they told us. I'm saying that's stupid. You get 15 minutes of overtime. If you can't score within 15 minutes, too bad. That's your fault.
Well,
there's no second quarter in overtime. What?
You know what?
That's almost getting like in the penalty kicks in soccer.
Well, I guess when it comes down to the Super Bowl,
you ran out of time. Oh, you got another quarter. Just keep going.
Yeah, you have another quarter. I can understand it. I just thought it was like, damn, I never knew. I didn't know anything about these rules when they came up.
Well, that's another thing about the 49ers. That's another thing about the 49ers coaching staff. You got Shanahan up there saying we don't have a lot of experience with it. Bro,
you play football.
Your players didn't even know. Your players didn't even know. Your coaching staff didn't know.
I don't even remember that coming out. I don't remember whenever that came out when they made the change. I can't remember at least.
If anybody should know
about it, the new rules for the overtime for Super Bowl.
If any coach should know about it, is Shanahan, because he coached in the only other overtime game in Super Bowl history
in Atlanta when he dashed to San Francisco after that collapse.
He should know. His team should have known. You got guys up there saying, "Oh, I had no idea what the rules were." What?
Well, you know what? They didn't get a touchdown. They did, and that's how it was supposed to end anyway. If they would have gotten another field goal, they would have gotten their opportunity again to get a touchdown. But yeah, for them not to even know why, because I know if you didn't know if that's really true, it changes your play calling because you're thinking that, okay, we could get the field goal and that would be it. But now I guess you were better served to get a touchdown and take those chances to get that touchdown. But you missed that touchdown, the next field goal does beat you.
Yeah, I just think it's silly, man. It all stems from the Bills and other fans crying because
Crying as usual.
they didn't get a chance to have the ball in overtime. They lost to the Chiefs. I think they just went overboard. Okay, I think it's fine if your defense can't keep them out of the end zone. Your offense doesn't deserve a shot to get the ball. That's just my opinion. You let them drive 75 yards, man, game over, dude.
Yeah,
Get a better defense and stop crying.
I mean, but come on, you got to give a little bit more, I don't know, a little leniency in the critique because this is a Super Bowl and it's overtime. You're talking about a brutal game. These dudes were hitting out there. This was a damn game of attrition if there ever have been. And so by overtime, dudes is worn out.
Yeah,
now you're talking about another quarter.
Bro. Don't go the other direction where, okay, there's a second overtime if the team's running out of time. No, there's no second overtime. You get 15 minutes. That's the way it's always been. 15 minutes in overtime.
And so both teams
you can't score in 15 minutes. That's whose fault is that?
Yeah, but the point is
more time. Come on, man.
It has to be a tie. And the tie has to be broken.
But then you start over and get another time. You don't start a second quarter with them at the 6-yard line.
Oh, you talking about kicking over again?
Yes, you go to second overtime.
Well, like in college, you kind of give them the opportunity.
You got 15 minutes. You need to score within that time. And then if you tie it, okay. There's what, 9 seconds? The other team, they down it. We go to second overtime. That makes more sense.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't even know these damn rules existed.
Instead of putting us in a position where we got to hurry up, we got to call the right plays because time's running down. We got to use our timeout. Oh, you know what? We just let the time run out. We're going to start out at the 6-yard line.
6-yard line anyway.
That's bogus. I don't like it.
Well, now this is a thing of the past.
They just went too far the opposite direction because of all the crying and whining.
You know, Goodell is all about appeasing the fans and the whiners in particular, because the whiners from the previous year's team that might have had a chance or felt they were snubbed, I guess he tries to appease them. But now it's over, and this is what we have. The Kansas City Chiefs are back-to-back champs for the first time since the 2003-2004 Patriots. Do they go for the three-peat? Of course, you're playing the game, so you're probably going to try to get the three-peat. I like to see what happens in the offseason, what they add, what leaves, because it is that kind of an NFL to where guys don't stay. But the factor that matters the most is still Mahomes. And as long as Mahomes is behind center, they have a chance. Whatever we thought before that, or whoever thought before all of that, even before he went on the road, thought it would be a problem, you got to eat your words. This guy is great. He's among greats and has every bit of a potential to be the greatest to ever play this game at that position. And that's true. And he could do it with less rings and still do better.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, physically, yeah. Physically. And the crazy thing about it, when he was in college, I didn't see him enough. So when I first saw him in the NFL, I was like, yo, this guy's arm is insane. Brett Favre, John Elway, those guys with those bullet arms. I'm like, God. But then you start seeing the other things he did. And then the freakish things, like changing hands with the left hand.
So is it fair to say Brady's the GOAT because of his longevity? Because I saw Montana, and I think Montana played better than Brady also.
Well, you know what? And I look, I always look at the weapons that these players have, these quarterbacks have. And of course, I'm not going to say that it's a system, it's this and that. These players, you don't win without players. And I look at what Joe Montana had. I look at what Tom Brady had in terms of his wide receivers. Other than Randy Moss, man, and then Julian Edelman came along a little later. And he was a slot receiver. And I'm like, bro, he really didn't have a whole lot at the wide receiver spot. In fact, his first Super Bowl was defense laden. That was Bill Belichick's signature in his first Super Bowl. That's how you got that 20-17 victory. When you look at that defense that they had with Lloyd Malloy and Ty Law in the secondary, you had Richard Seymour, Teddy Bruschi, and even Mike Vrabel on that team. I mean, that was all defense that made that happen. That's why Tom was able to throw for 145 yards and 1 touchdown and a winning effort. It's just later on they started just putting other players in there. I mean, they had Antoine Smith as a freaking running back when they won the Super Bowl. And then you get Randy Moss later on, but all of these other wide receivers, Deion Branch, we mentioned that earlier this season, getting the MVP, Deion Branch. And so he did it with fewer players. No one's on Jerry Rice's level. It's hard to believe anybody's even on John Taylor's level. And that's who Joe Montana and
but he had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
Well, later on, they ended up having Gronk, but the damage was already done by the time those guys came.
Montana won without Rice, too. So
yeah, he won without Rice because he had Dwight Clark, another one. And he still had Rath.
Dwight Clark.
He still had freaking Roger Craig. Those two.
Dwight Clark?
Who?
Dwight Clark, really?
Dwight Clark, for what they were doing, that was the Gronk of his day.
I'm just saying.
Fly paper? Come on. That's what they call him.
Come on, man. Dwight Clark, he's not a good player, but he's not a game changer.
And for the way they play, he was
not
a game changer. Caught that damn ball against his ass.
Not a game changer.
But, I'm just saying that I look at what Tom Brady had in terms of play. Now, Gronk and them came along later, and Aaron Hernandez didn't exactly make a splash his first year in the NFL either. It took some time. He was one of those players I thought would step in and just play right away and do well. And it took him a little bit of time to get his footing and start showing that he was going to be something special before things happened to him. So offensively, they never really had it. You had Corey Dillon. I think that was one of the most underrated players they had on that team, on any of these Patriots team at the running back spot. Running for over 1,500 yards that year. So I just think that when you look at what Joe Montana done, man, we're splitting hairs when you talk about these guys. Joe Montana.
I'm just saying the eye test. I think Montana played better. That's all I'm saying. But Brady's the GOAT because of his longevity. Because he has
and there's something to be said about that longevity in a game of attrition like football. All these years you're playing, you're not just there. You're not Fred McGriff just playing around and getting 500 home runs. You're actually freaking taking poundings every damn game. Dudes are coming after you. He did miss a season with a torn knee.
I wouldn't go that far. They changed the rules for him, man. Guys, quarterbacks can't get hit.
You know what? They changed the rules and they still get hit. He still had a torn knee. He was out for a season because of that knee. So, I mean, he still there's no easy way for football. It's almost like boxing. There's no easy way in boxing.
I'm not saying that there's an easy way. I'm just saying they changed the rules for him where it made it a lot easier.
And that's why it's more difficult to compare players now to players back then. Because, in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today about that same thing. You really can't compare those players anymore because what Joe Montana had to deal with Jim Burton knocking him the hell out. Hell, Tom Brady gets hit the same way. You already know what happens. Someone's getting thrown out the game. And that was a cool hit what Jim Burton had done. We saw how what Goose did to Rich Gannon when he just flopped on him, and how that went down. And so, he wasn't protected. So things are just different now, man. In the way Terry Bradshaw, what he had to deal with when he played, just a completely different NFL. Lawrence Taylor couldn't excel in today's NFL.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. I sent you that clip on Instagram of Doug Plink making the hit on the wide receiver and the cornerback intercepted the ball. It laid him out. Then he gets up and runs downfield and lays out a lineman trying to make a tackle. And I sent that same clip to my son, and he's like, man, he got fined and suspended.
Oh, today,
like 5 games.
Probably banned. And they call it targeting, man. Banned, man, the way it's really hard.
Wait. Speaking of Doug Plink, I got something to say.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears are officially on the clock.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean,
they are the number 1 pick overall.
Right.
Yeah, draft. Everyone's looking forward to the draft now. The combine is in a couple of weeks now in March. So we're going to find out who these teams, and it's going to be something to talk about. Do they give up that pick and try to continue to build that team, getting more draft picks and kind of doing what Jimmy Johnson did when he came and built that 1-15 Dallas Cowboys team, just kept on trading at the last second, building that team he eventually ended up winning Super Bowls with. You just got Rich Trubisky, by the way. Not you, but They just got rid of Rich Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky with the Steelers was just let go.
I saw that.
So after 2 seasons, but I was like, you know what? Since he was with the Bears first, it's nothing new for him to continue his journey somewhere else. But yeah, now it's going to come down to draft talk and how these guys perform at the combine. We already talked about the Senior Bowl a little bit last week.
Did we talk about the Hall of Fame class?
Bro, we didn't hear about the Hall of Fame class. We didn't talk about that. But Devin got in. I'm digging it. Andre Johnson got in. I'm digging it. So, bro, the youth representing hard.
Steve McMichael, Dwight Freeney.
Steve McMichael, yeah.
Who else?
Dwight Freeney.
Yeah, I got no issues. McMichael, I'm not sure he deserved it.
Really?
But
wow.
Yeah.
What do you think? He wasn't a sympathy vote. I mean, the guy did play some damn.
I'm not saying he was bad, but I'd put Gary Fensick in the Hall of Fame before Steve McMichael. That's just my opinion.
Wow.
But congratulations. I'm not trying to throw shade. Congratulations, Mongo. Dwight Freeney, he belongs. Andre Johnson, he belongs. And anybody that says Devin Hester doesn't belong,
don't care. He's dead.
Right, but you're not looking at the whole picture. He belongs because as soon as Ray Guy got voted into the Hall of Fame, he opened the door for all special teamers.
Well, Jan Stenerud.
So if you got the best punter, you got to have the best returner.
Yep.
So that's why Devin Hester's in.
Man, but just look at what he did, man. This guy changed the freaking game. And it's probably the way he changed it, you might not be able to break his record anyway because the rules change on special teams.
Yeah, most kicks go out of the end zone now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's the Devin Hester rule, and it probably solidifies him being the greatest of all time because no one else is getting the opportunity.
Right.
Hey, they did it. So, if you change the rule like that to where then no one's going to ever break his record, you might as well put the guy who started it in the Hall of Fame for changing it like that.
Yeah, 50 years from now, they'll be saying he still holds the record.
He'll hold the record because no one's run out of the end zone because the ball can't stay in the end zone. Come on. But yeah, I was glad when he and Andre Johnson, man, I was just as happy for Andre Johnson getting it as well because he was always a quiet guy, never played on the right team, played on that, shut his mouth regardless of how bad those Texans teams were, stayed there. The David Carr years, he didn't complain. He just wasn't that kind of dude. Same thing he did in Miami. Never complained. Just made plays. And then when they let him go, the fans loved him. Even when he left, they still loved that guy. But I'm glad he got in. So he and Devin Hester representing the U. Dwight Freeney certainly coming from Syracuse, representing Syracuse and doing his thing with the Indianapolis Colts. Undersized, but that spin move, man, that's what he's known for.
Yeah, man, he was a quarterback terror.
Nightmare. Robert Mathis, is he in there? I think he's in it, right?
Not to my knowledge.
But he'll probably be getting an opportunity too. He's in the Black College Football Hall of Fame. I was actually at the induction, so I forgot. I just took it for granted he was going to be in it, but he's probably going to get his chance as well. I mean, he went to Alabama A&M, but he was a damn good player too. Absolutely phenomenal player.
What's up with Rex not getting the DC job in Dallas?
See, I didn't hear the results. I just heard that he was up for it. I thought
he interviewed for it. Man, I saw who they hired. I just can't remember right now. Yeah.
Well, I like to see Rex again get a job, man. I mean, I like him as a defensive guy. Remember, his brother was down there in Dallas at one point, but now Rex is coming back because he's trying to get back. I think he's trying to become a head coach again, playing that defensive coordinator role. Staying there for about 2 or 3 years, people will come knocking because of that defense. Because he is a defensive, like his father, he's a defensive guru. He just has problems, and he's a player's coach. Guys like him,
right? And he probably looks at the athletes on that defense and thinks, "Man, I'd love to coach those guys."
Oh yeah, so they hired somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, well, Rex is going to get another opportunity now that he let people know that he's really interested in coming back. He'll find a job.
He'll get some calls.
Yeah, he'll get some calls, man. I don't think there's a problem with that. If defense is what you want, that's what he brings. And a little bit of his own talking. I think that's probably could have rubbed Jerry Jones a little bit the wrong way because he will talk back. And Jerry Jones, I want you talking back.
Too much of a strong personality.
Exactly.
Probably.
So I think that's what happened there. So, man, what else is there left, man? We got
the Warriors.
The Warriors winning 3 straight, right?
I don't know how many in a row, but they had a 4-1 road trip, I think, and they beat the Suns last night, or was it Saturday?
Ah,
I
man,
think it's Saturday.
I drew a blank on everything.
Steph hit
Sport.
a three. I think it was Saturday. Steph hit a three with 0.6 seconds left. The Suns threw an alley oop to like the dotted line in the paint to KD, and Draymond knocked it away, preventing him from taking the shot. And Draymond started pumping his chest and talking all kind of crazy stuff, and he was hyped up. But they're playing better. I still don't think their championship window is open.
Oh,
But
nah.
at
You know, they
least
have
at least they look better now.
a little bit of this pre All-Star game stuff. Yeah, it doesn't as much ado about nothing. But did you hear a story the other day about Draymond Green? I think he got teed up again.
He was going at it with Nurkic.
Yeah, exactly. Nurkic said he didn't learn anything. That's what he said.
I think Nurkic was antagonizing him because he scored over him, and then he didn't just do the too small. He went down with both hands and slapped the floor.
Man,
To say he's too small. As luck would have it, Draymond got the ball a little bit later. He scored over Nurkic, and he did it right back.
And he didn't like it.
Right.
He didn't learn anything.
I think Nurkic is just talking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he took a swipe at him. He didn't give him an elbow.
Kept that part of it out.
Yeah, so I mean, he didn't do anything.
He's like, I take back what I said before. He deserved that guy suspended pretty much.
He didn't even he didn't come close to crossing the line, and he didn't even go up to the line, really. He didn't do anything. Or else they would have shown it.
So now we got NBA finally starting to go into the All-Star game, and now everything is kind of down the stretch. They come time from there. You know, a race till May, so they could get into the playoffs and do what they do there. And college basketball, March Madness is around the corner just as well. Indiana State in the top 25 for the first time since 1979. Wow. Larry freaking Bird when they were number one in the nation. They're 22-3 right now. The Sycamores, boy.
Right.
Trying to show they belong. Hey, you know what? I thought that a lot of this, when we were talking about, I think a few weeks ago, with the college basketball ranks are pretty diluted because the best players aren't necessarily going to college anymore. They're going overseas. They're going to entities like Overtime Elite. They're not going straight to college, and I think it's been watered down because of it. So these 1-16 matchups or 15-2 matchups, seeing that 15 beat that 2 or that 16 beating that 1, may happen more commonly than it's ever happened before because, hell, until it happened, it never happened before.
You know what's sad? Duke played North Carolina, I think, last weekend, and I watched it, and it just wasn't the same, man.
Quality of basketball was terrible, man.
Yeah, it just was not the same. Even the intensity was lacking. Yep. I was like, I can't believe this is Duke Carolina that I'm watching.
Clemson beat freaking Carolina in Carolina. Clemson, man.
Well, speaking of upsets, Caitlin Clark trying to go for the scoring record.
Yeah.
She came up 8 points short, but they took the L against the Lady Huskers.
Bro, I heard about that, man. She going upset, huge upset. But obviously she's going to pass it, so I know there's going to be shade thrown her way because there was already shade already before that. She's definitely breaking it, unless something serious, crazy, out of the ordinary happens, like injury. Outside of that, she's going to obliterate the record, man. These girls who are hating on her now from afar, they need to be quiet because these are the same feminists who complain and whine about the WNBA not getting its props. She's going to be the reason why some people decide to watch who probably never would have watched before, because I'm going to at least watch for a little while and see what happens when she gets there, because I know they're going to be haters. I know they're going to be people playing differently against her, and it may be one of those things the way they try to hurt her.
They should bow down and kiss her feet because there's going to be people in the stands finally.
Yeah, exactly. But nah, they're so, I don't know, that monolithic mindset, that's exactly what it is. You know, they want what they want, but they don't want the wrong person doing it. I said it before, I'll say it again. She's going to be the reason why anybody watches. And if you all get paid, you need to pay homage to her. And you don't want to do it.
You just reminded me of something. I hope no one comes out and says if she was black, she'd just be an ordinary player, you know, like Dennis Rodman.
She'd be just another dominant player.
I hope not.
Yeah, bro, she is who she is, and she's the color she is, and she's dominating. And I think some people don't like it. And we see some people speaking on it and not such subtle sentiments when they do say it. And it doesn't matter because she goes out there, she still scores again. She's going to have those haters who look for her to lose or look for her to even probably get injured. They're out there. They'll smile in front of a camera. We know what's talked about at the dinner table or even in the locker room. We already know how it goes. That's just the way things are now. Deal with it. That's all. Deal with it. And going back to that college basketball with men, if you've seen Georgetown play lately, man, oh my God, John Thompson is spinning around like a damn dreidel in his freaking grave watching this crap that's going on.
It's been a while since I've watched the Georgetown game.
Oh, they're awful, man.
Because I couldn't watch it. It was like, oh my gosh.
I thought it was Patrick Ewing being a terrible coach, and he is. But God, they're terrible. I mean, no one wants to be number one. I mean, UConn is playing good.
It's not your daddy's college basketball.
Oh, no, it isn't. And Gonzaga had their time in the sun, so now they're kind of like sitting to the side now. They're winning games, but not like Gonzaga has been winning games in the past because now they're losing top players early now before they could still go out there with 4-year players or 5-year players and keep that consistency. Now they're getting quality players that are leaving after one and done or whatever, like Chet Holmgren. They can't keep it up anymore. But college basketball, and I hope that March Madness changes it. Jim Nance is not there, so I wonder if that changes anything. I like Iron Eagle, but
I gotta mention this. I don't know if anybody's still watching or listening, but if you were watching the Super Bowl shows yesterday, CBS had little documentaries. It was called "You Are Looking Live." It was about their show back in the 70s, with Brent Musburger and Jimmy the Greek and the Irv Cross. Man, that was some quality stuff yesterday. I didn't know. That was the very first live pregame show in history. Before that, shows were taped, and they had Brent Musburger talking. They had, of course, rest in peace, Jimmy the Greek, but they had old film of him, Phyllis George, Jane Kennedy. It was really good. Yeah, and Phyllis George, she was interviewing Joe Namath, and everybody knows about his off the field stuff, right? So then they show her interviewing Roger Staubach, and she's like, you're kind of a homebody type looking. What do you do for fun? He's like, hey, I love to have sex too, just like Joe Namath. Only difference is I do it with one girl. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing? Joe's name is like, yo, you're breaking the bro code. Yo, I don't know if Joe
that's why you get divorced.
I don't know if Joe called it. Hey, man, what's up with that comment, bro?
Bro.
I was like, man, that's kind of taking the shot. I didn't know it was like that back then, man.
Man, those were real cold-blooded dudes. And now they start all the censoring. That probably the reason why they started all the censoring.
They said
stuff like that.
Somebody attacked Jimmy the Greek because he's like, you made me lose a lot of money, man. Trying to throwing hands at him, man. Had to break it up.
He was good, man. He was legitimately good. You can't win them all, man. Come on now.
They said he always picked the Raiders, and if the Raiders lost 2 or 3 in a row when you were following Jimmy the Greek, well, you lost all those weeks. But they're saying they wanted to do a gambling part on the show, but they had to clear with Pete Rozelle. And Pete Rozelle, they're talking about it. He's like, okay, yeah, you guys can do it. And as they're walking out, Brent says, hold on. And so he turns and looks, and Rozelle says, you cannot mention the spread. And Brent's like, fuck, we can't talk about the spread. What are we going to do? And they came up with a way. There was like code words. Or Jimmy the Greek would say, what's that movie with that blonde lady with the 10? Yeah, there you go, 10. Bears.
Oh my God, come on. That's as lame as it gets.
He would drop code words to tell you what the spread was.
Man, and I can understand what Pete Rozelle was going through based on what had happened with Paul Hornig and Alex Karras. Mm-hmm. Oh, was it Alex Karras? I think it was. Or was it Merlin Olsen with the gambling?
I don't know. I don't remember Hornig.
I think it was Hornig, and I think it was Merlin Olsen when he was with the Rams, that gambling deal. But yeah, that's probably why they're a little timid with it. But the way things are now, the NFL being the hypocrisy that it is today, they've embraced everything FanDuel because there's more money to make, and they just hope that their own players don't gamble.
Yeah,
if
what's
you're
up
gamble, make sure you're off the premise. You can go across the street from the stadium and gamble. So
What's up with Gronk? He can't make field goals from 20 yards away.
Who? LeBron?
Gronk.
Oh, Gronk.
Yeah, he missed the field goal again.
He's a tight end.
Yeah, but if he got time to practice, especially a whole year to practice because he missed last year.
Come on, Gronk.
You should practice. At least for a couple of days. But did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Man, he had this tight ass helmet, and it was like they were making a joke of it. It was so funny. I was like, "Why is that helmet?" It looked like it was painted on his head, on his face.
Man, I didn't see that part. You know what? This is exactly how it happened. As soon as that touchdown was made, and they made it official, and the game was over, turn the TV off. That was it. I was like, "Bro, come on." Yeah,
my friend,
speeches, anything. I was done.
My friend was over. He's a Raiders fan. He's like, "Man, turn that shit off."
Yeah, that's it. Game over. Hell, it was game over. Game over. I didn't hear the talk. I watched the game. And they talked it up for all those hours before the game. So anyway, and I saw that little picture of your Super Bowl day. Happy Super Bowl day with the open up the freezer.
Oh yeah, that was just a little bit.
Yeah.
There was another fridge. Had like 3 more cases of beer in there. We had meatballs, we had rib tips, we had elote. You know what elote is?
No, I don't.
It's corn, but like they put a certain type of Mexican cheese, a little bit of mayonnaise, some chili powder, and some lime. Man, it's so good.
It's hot.
We had what else we had? Some chili cheese dip. My friend brought a giant ass pizza. Man, it was on yesterday.
I bet, man. Surprised dude was able to go to work today without the Pepto-Bismol.
I worked from home on Monday, so I was good.
Bet. How's the weather up there, by the way? Is it cooler or is it getting warmer seasonally?
No, it warmed up a little bit. There was frost on the ground this morning, but it warmed up. I was just outside a little while ago. Probably 45 degrees.
Yeah, it got a little hot here today.
That's hot for February, man. Usually it's
because
like 2 degrees usually in February, but we're not out of it yet, man.
Well, we
sometimes it snows in April and May sometimes up here.
What? Snowing in May?
It snows in April and May sometimes up here.
Well, I know in New York it snowed in April. Cause I remember I went to one of the drafts and it was like snow and a little bit of ice. But God, May, I don't remember that. Man, that's another level. But anyway, man, over here it's been pretty warm, and right now it's raining, but still got to do some work tonight, so got to get out there and run. But anyways, that'll be it until Thursday, man. So, hey, before you know it, we're going to talk about maybe some of these moves that have been made in the NFL. I think it starts off with Mitch Trubisky being let go by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then moving forward to see whatever else falls into place. You talk about Eric Bieniemy possibly going back to Kansas City. Now they have a championship. Maybe he does come back. And that would be a good idea if he does come back, because I think all eyes will be on him. And speculation starts about
what's up with Tony Romo saying Andy Reid and Matt Nagy coming up with this offense.
Yeah, I heard him last night.
He must have said like 4 or 5 times, dude. What the fuck is he talking about?
That's Andy Reid. With the way things are going. But anyways, Tony Romo, man, when he first started, I liked him. Now, kind of like
he doesn't do his homework. That's
he does. He thinks he just because he does know football. There's no question about it. But man, for the things that he says, man, this is the Super Bowl. Like, oh yeah, I forgot what we were watching. And the things that he said that are so obvious during the playoffs and now here in the Super Bowl, bro. And then he's a little bit over the top. I'll take Greg Olsen over him any day. Greg Olsen, he doesn't try to act like the smartest guy in the room. And he throws a little quip in there every now and then, but he just tells you like it is, and you understand it in layman terms.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So with that said, man, we can wait till Thursday because I'm sure something else will pop up, and it gives us a chance to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the NBA because the All-Star game's coming up. After that, you already know it's a sprint towards the championship and the playoffs, the playoffs are then the championship, and see what's going on with that. Is LeBron and his Lakers, are they going to go into the playoffs this year? And if they do, how high a seed will they go? I don't know. I haven't seen any consistency from them this year at all. But there's been so many other, like the Grizzlies are just pretty much out of it. They don't care. Oklahoma City has come back down to earth a bit. even the Celtics losing at home as they did a couple of days ago, or about a week or so ago. So I think it's a little bit more up in the air. But what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks? I mean, did that even settle in yet? How long is it going to take?
I don't know. We'll see. We can talk about it on Thursday. I got to catch up on my NBA in the next couple of days.
Yeah, that's bro. There's nothing else now. We get into that point with pitchers and catchers in a couple of weeks. So baseball will be talked about. I mean, we're not going to really talk about preseason baseball, even though I'll be catching a game or two down in Tampa. But either way, we'll just go until then. I'm Trav. He's Biased. The Sports Back Bros podcast coming at you post Super Bowl 58. The new defending champs repeated the Kansas City Chiefs. Looking forward to repeat in the upcoming season. Until then, deuces.
Adios.